Hi, my name is Hoa Pham and my preferred pronouns are she and her. I would like to acknowledge that I'm on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and forthcoming. I would also like to acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded and we are on a land that will always be Aboriginal land.
How did you come to be a writer?
I started writing when I was 15 and my parents hated it because it was not to do with schoolwork. And so they forbid me from doing it, which of course made me want to do it even more. And so for me, writing is an escape. It's my go-to place where I want to express myself. Writing is my escape and my getaway. I like telling tales about things that are not often told.
Your first novel, The Other Shore, is described as a delicate meditation on the nature of ghosts, belief and how the future is shaped by the past. Can you tell us a little bit about the story, The Other Shore?
The Other Shore is about a psychic who reunites the war dead with their descendants. She's a 16-year-old girl, Kim, and she's Buddhist. And what I explore is her dilemma that she believes in the spiritualness of the Buddhism, which takes no sides in the war, but she's employed by the communist government, which will not honour the Southern Vietnamese dead. And so her dilemma is the arc of the story. What does she do when she's directed to do something that goes against her spiritual values?
And then your second novel, Wave, explores themes of freedom, obligation, alienation in the story of two international university students. What inspired you to write that novel?
I worked as a counselling psychologist at RMIT, and I saw a lot of international students and their issues. And I came to realise that there's a lot of stress that those students are under. And the story itself is about surviving a university shooting. And so I can imagine the pressures that the children are under, students are under when they come to study here. And I could see how easily one may resort to violence when one's so frustrated and feels that there's no way out. Okay. Inside it was warm like greenhouse flowers. Outside it was the end of the world. At the start of the Buddha's 49 days of mourning, I remember you. Your little brother plays vigil at the shrine in your flat. Your picture smiles at me. Your characteristic fishhook smile caught me and the rest of the world. I remember what happened during the time that I loved you, and despair. Brother, he was waiting for his mother to come, in his favourite yellow hat with the cosy ear flaps on and wrapped up in his red puffy parka. They had just had open playtime when they could do anything they liked. He made a picture for his mother out of autumn leaves. The brown foliage crunched in his hands and littered the paper with broken remains. Usually Mummy would be on time. She would arrive and take his hand in hers and give him a kiss on the cheek. She smelled of perfume and newly applied lipstick. Then they would go home and have a hot chocolate while she had cooked dinner. He hoped that she would come soon so he could give her his picture of leaves. She had made a giraffe and a horse. Outside was the distant roar of the ocean. Today he could hear the waves. It sounded like the beach had crept right up to their doorstep. Next to him, the other children were waiting too. No one's parents had arrived yet. He was looking at the clock. Soon they were all looking at the clock, waiting for their parents to come. The red digital numbers on the stark black clock told no lies. Their parents were late. He looked back at the closed door to the children's room. No one's parents had arrived. That was strange. Sometimes one parent would be late, but all of them? The children began whispering amongst themselves. One child began to cry, snuffling softly. Mother! He thinks into the ether, hoping that she can hear him shouting in his mind. Sometimes she does know, the hiccup before he cries out aloud that brings her running into his arms. Other times she is deaf to him, even when he is in her arms, warm and snug. Where are all the mummies? Where have they gone? A childcare worker opens the sliding door and is greeted by the silent anticipation of the children sitting cross-legged on the floor. She shakes her head, and now he can see how white she is and the deepest frown on her face close up. Something is wrong.
And then your novella, Lady of the Realm, explores the recent history of Vietnam, particularly Buddhism in Vietnam, through the life of your character, Lien. What can you tell us about Lien?
Lien believes in the Lady of the Realm, which is the mother goddess of Vietnam. But again, her beliefs are tested when horrible things happen to her, like she gets raped and her village is destroyed in the war. And so her story of how she comes to terms with that over the 5 decades of unrest in Vietnam is what the story is about.
You also write theatre, and your plays have been produced as part of the Melbourne Fringe Festival and your play Silence was featured on the VCE Drama List. What can you tell us about writing for the stage and seeing the plays interpreted and performed?
Writing plays is like having a foundation to a house, and so then the house itself is a production. And it can be a very involved process. You might work with a dramaturg who will work with you, sometimes line by line, to get your ideas to be production ready. And when you see your words being spoken out loud on stage, it's an amazing feeling, and seeing the emotions and the impact it has on an audience, it gives you a ready experience that you won't get anywhere else.
You've written short stories and in a variety of other forms, and you're the founder and publisher of Peril Magazine, an Asian Australian online arts and culture magazine. How do you write in such a wonderful variety of forms, and how do you choose the right form for your idea?
Ideas come to me, and I write about things that I'm fascinated by, and then choosing the form, often there's a form that speaks to me, whether I want an audience to see and feel and viscerally live through what I want to express, then I'll make it a play. But sometimes it's more complex than that, and I want people to feel what it's like inside the head of the characters, and there's a complex situation that can't be expressed on stage, then it becomes fiction. And usually when I start writing, I need to have an idea of what the ending is, and so then that gives me a clue as to whether it's a short story or whether it's a novel. So the ideas dictate what form I take.
Do you have any advice for new and aspiring writers?
I'd say be true to the story that you want to tell. Like, they do say that all stories have been told over the world, over the millennia, but what is special is your story and the way that you tell it. And so keep that in mind when you write. Don't worry if someone's told the story before, to be true to your unique vision. And also, get your work out there. Even if it's not published straight away, get it into circulation so then you can get feedback and build on that feedback to become a better writer.